Meet Richard. He lives an ordinary life in the Netherlands, in a normal house with his girlfriend and daughter, working a full-time job. But when Richard's relationship with his girlfriend ended, everything fell apart. He was forced to live in a tent for months. Now, Richard has money to rent a new house. That's not the problem. There simply aren't any houses available to rent. And Richard's not alone. There are thousands of Dutch people struggling to find affordable housing. In this video, we'll uncover the truth behind the housing crisis gripping the Netherlands in 2023. Welcome to The Seeker's Edge, where we seek knowledge that'll give you an edge in life. Let's begin. The Netherlands is currently facing a housing crisis, characterized by a shortage of affordable and available homes. The rapid growth of the population, combined with a new shortage of new constructions, has resulted in a high demand for housing, driving prices up and making it increasingly difficult for people to find a place to live. The impacts of this crisis are serious and far-reaching, affecting not only individuals and families, but also the wider economy and society as a whole. High housing costs are putting a strain on people's finances and making it harder for them to save for their future. Furthermore, the shortage of affordable housing is leading to overcrowding, homelessness, and increased social tension. The problems of the housing crisis are particularly affecting the major cities in the Netherlands. In cities like Amsterdam, Utrecht, and Rotterdam, the demand for housing is highest, leading to skyrocketing prices, bidding wars, and a lack of affordable options for low and middle-income families. The situation is also exacerbating existing social and economic inequalities, making it harder for those with low incomes to access decent housing and putting upward pressure on rents. One of the major factors contributing to the crisis is the nitrogen crisis, which has resulted in a lack of building permits. So let's first off dive a bit deeper into the nitrogen crisis. We're going to examine that and its impact on the construction industry and the current status of the regulations and their effects. The Dutch nitrogen crisis refers to the problems created by the excessive nitrogen emissions made by the Netherlands. Nitrogen emissions are caused by various sources, including transportation, agriculture, and industrial activities. The Dutch government imposed strict regulations on nitrogen emissions to protect the country's nature and biodiversity. The stricter regulations have significantly impacted the construction industry in the Netherlands, as many building projects require permits for nitrogen emission allowances. The lack of available nitrogen emission allowances has resulted in a shortage of building permits and a slowdown in construction activities. That's created a bottleneck in the supply of new housing, contributing to the ongoing housing crisis. The nitrogen crisis is far from resolved, and the regulations are still in place, although there are ongoing discussions about ways to mitigate their impact on the construction industry. Despite the efforts, the housing shortage in the Netherlands remains a critical issue, with housing prices continuing to rise and a significant number of people still unable to find affordable housing. The effects of the nitrogen crisis and the lack of building permits are significant and far-reaching, and they're likely to continue to be felt for years to come. The nitrogen crisis is not the only cause. There's also a massive lack of free space. The Netherlands is known for its densely populated cities and limited space for new housing developments. The country's geography is characterized by low-lying lands and a large amount of protected nature reserves. The government places a high importance on preserving the country's natural beauty and protecting its habitats for flora and fauna. This limited space, combined with strict regulations and high demand for new housing developments, has resulted in a scarcity of free land to build new homes. The Dutch government has put into place strict policies aimed at preserving natural areas, which has resulted in the restriction of new housing developments in many areas. This lack of free space has contributed to the ongoing housing crisis in the Netherlands and has placed pressure on the government and real estate developers to find innovative solutions to provide adequate housing for its citizens. The need for new housing developments is particularly pressing in the major cities, where the demand for housing is highest. The government continues to search for ways to balance the protection of nature reserves with the need for new housing developments, with all the while finding new ways to accommodate the growing population and its demand for housing. However, its failing to find the right balance caused the Dutch population to suffer. Although most Dutch are understanding and also appreciate their flora and fauna, there's another villain in this story. Meet the property investors. The Dutch housing crisis has been partially fueled by property investors. In recent years, there's been an increase in investment into the housing market, leading to rising property prices and a lack of affordable housing for many people. The way in which this investment has been managed has been deemed ineffective and unfair by some. Property investors have been able to acquire large amounts of properties, often pushing out local residents and causing gentrification in certain areas, which has led to a displacement of long-time residents, particularly in major cities, and has resulted in a growing housing crisis. The effects of this problem have been felt in urban areas where there is a high demand for housing, and where gentrification has led to rising property prices and a lack of affordable housing options. It seems unfair that property investors own multiple houses while lower-income families can't afford a roof over their heads. Another contributor to the Dutch housing crisis is the rise of Airbnb and tourism. Airbnb has become increasingly popular in recent years as a platform for travelers to book short-term rentals in their desired destinations. However, the platform's growing popularity has also led to an increase in tourist-focused housing, which has created problems in some cities, including the Netherlands and particularly in Amsterdam. In Amsterdam, the rise of Airbnb has resulted in a shortage of affordable housing for residents. This is because many landlords have started to convert their rental properties into short-term rentals, which are more profitable than traditional rentals. The shortage of affordable housing has made it difficult for residents to find a place to live and has led to an increase in housing prices. The Dutch government has taken measures to address the issue caused by Airbnb. For example, the government has introduced regulations that limit the number of days a property can be rented out on Airbnb. The government also introduced a registration system for short-term rentals to ensure that landlords comply with regulations. Additionally, the government has increased the penalties for landlords who violate the regulations. These measures are aimed at ensuring that there is enough affordable housing for residents and that the tourism industry doesn't negatively impact the housing market. While this can work short-term, it does not provide a long-term solution to a growing housing shortage. And last but not least, as the cherry on top of the cake, tighter lending regulations have been introduced in the Netherlands in an attempt to combat the housing shortage, but they have not made a difference. The regulations are meant to prevent the creation of a housing bubble, but they've had unintended consequences. The tighter lending regulations mean that it's harder for people to get approved for a mortgage, leading to a decrease in the number of new home buyers. This, in turn, has made the housing shortage even worse. Potential buyers are facing more obstacles and stricter requirements when trying to secure a mortgage, making it even more challenging to find affordable housing in the Netherlands. The regulations have made the housing market even more competitive, and they've led to further price increases, making it more difficult for people to purchase their own home. Despite the tightening of lending regulations, the Dutch housing crisis continues to persist. The regulations aim to increase financial stability and reduce the risk of mortgage defaults, but they also make it more difficult for potential buyers to obtain, say, a mortgage. This results in many potential buyers being unable to enter the housing market, exacerbating the shortage of available homes. Additionally, the restrictions of lending have caused a slowdown in the construction industry, as developers face stricter standards for obtaining financing. The reduced number of new homes being built exacerbates the existing shortage, making it even more challenging for those in search of a home. The impact of these regulations is particularly felt by low and middle-income earners who struggle to secure a mortgage due to stringent requirements. In conclusion, the housing crisis in the Netherlands is a complex issue that is affecting the country in various ways. The shortage of housing is a result of a combination of factors, including the nitrogen crisis, limited space, property investors, Airbnb, and tourism, and tighter lending regulations. All of these factors are impacting the country's economy and affecting the quality of life for its citizens, particularly those in major cities. Despite some measures being taken to resolve the issue, it's clear that the solution is going to require a multifaceted approach that involves the government, the construction industry, and the citizens. The government needs to work on creating a sustainable solution that balances the need for housing with the need to protect the environment and maintain the quality of life of its citizens. That's my rant, that's my preach. Thank you for watching the video to the end. What do you think the government should do to solve this housing crisis? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and thank you for watching till the end. Don't forget to subscribe to The Seeker's Edge for an edge in life.